Hey everybody, welcome to this first module. This week we'll be taking a look at Arduino, computer systems, and math. Go ahead and share the Canvas page here. So on Canvas, once it's published, you should see this first module, with the report section, the quiz, and a little bit of extra credit. So in the report section, you'll find the actual PDF for the book. And so I've got it downloaded here. And you'll want to download it so that you can actually click on these little hyperlinks, to make navigation a little bit easier. But so here's the first reading, I guess. It's about 10 pages, and there are little exercises sprinkled throughout the reading. And so what you'll actually want to do is go through the reading and, work through the exercises, and you'll want to record all of your answers to the exercises. Ideally in some kind of either a Word doc or a Google Doc or Google Doc. So if you just go onto Google Drive, you can create a Google Doc, and then you'll have your title page, and you'll just be filling out this. It's going to be a lab notebook, right? So it's got a lab notebook. You'll probably want to put your name on it, the course, instructor, and term. At the very least, you're welcome to format it however you want. And then, go to the next page. And then you can have little headings, for maybe week 1 lab. And then you can also insert table of contents, just so that you can keep everything organized into one location here. And each week you'll submit your lab notebook kind of as a PDF. So once you're in here, you have your lab notebook, you go to file, download, PDF document. And there's a similar process for downloading your Word docs as a PDF if you prefer to use Word. So that's just a little overview of the module itself. So there's also going to be a quiz. The quiz is meant to be, fairly straightforward, hopefully. It's going to be, this first one's going to be 5 questions. It's open note. You have as much time as you want, so feel free to open it up or close out of it, return to it at some other time. But what I do recommend is that you go through the exercises and, at the very least, go through the exercises before attempting the quiz or finishing the quiz, I'd say. And then there's this extra credit. So at the end of chapter 1 here, there's a little section called MATLAB certification. And so this is just a online training provided by MathWorks, and we'll get into that at some later point. And so, the deliverable for this is just to upload your certificate of completion, and it should be pretty straightforward. So let's talk a little bit about this first module, right? So we're looking at the Arduino, and this quarter, and previous quarters and all sections across this EE151 are using this Arduino Mega 2560. And so this is the board, right? It's a development board. We can write firmware to it and program it to do different things. And so we'll be using it throughout the quarter to effectively learn many concepts about electrical engineering. That's there. You'll want to go through, read about it. And then we'll also be using Tinkercad pretty frequently throughout this course. So you open up Tinkercad, you make an account, sign in, and there's this little section called circuits. And so this is neat because it allows us to explore a lot of basic concepts without actually having to build the circuits physically. right? So I've got a bunch of basic components here. In particular, we're looking at this Arduino Uno most of the time. Tinkercad doesn't have the Mega, but for the most part, the Arduino Uno can accomplish everything that we'll need to do for this course. Another nice thing about Tinkercad, right, is that they have a lot of these starters, and these starters allow us to play around with pre-built circuits here, circuit assemblies here. And so here we have an example of, I think I just pulled out this fade. Yeah, so this fade example, and you'll be taking a look at this a little bit more. But once you have your Tinkercad circuit built up, you can actually look at the code. And so if there's an Arduino on here, there's bound to be some kind of code that we write. And what you'll want to do is take this blocks drop down and go down to text so that we can look at what's actually the code that's being written here instead of the drag and drop environment that they had there. And so here's the code for this fade example. And, you can go in and out of the code tab to get back to these hardware parts. And you can also start the simulation just to kind of see what the code is doing. And so another thing that you'll be looking at in Tinkercad here is the schematic view. So this is nice because it allows us to, look at a circuit assembly more objectively. Like from here, you can't really tell that well how the LED is connected. And so LEDs are polarized devices, which means that there's a specific way that you'll want to connect them, right? But just from this picture, you can't tell that this here is the cathode and this here is the anode. You would have to look at the, or at least it's not very clear. You can kind of see a kink in the leg here to denote the anode, but if I was just looking at this, I wouldn't know that right off the top of my head. A better way to look at this would be through the schematic view, and you can clearly see here that this is the anode, this is the cathode, just because of how the schematic symbol is polarized, or it's not symmetric, whereas this resistor is symmetric, right? That's another thing that I wanted to talk about. We'll also be taking a look at the Arduino language reference. So this is going to be very important. Once we get into writing some code yourself, you'll want to be familiar with all these different things, or at least if you know what you want to do, you want to see if there's something that exists already in the language reference that does something similar. That's code. We'll also be taking a look at the @Mega data sheet. So the Arduino Mega 2560 Rev 3 is built on top of this @Mega microcontroller. And so this is what the microcontroller pinout looks like, right? So there are about 100 pins on this guy. And you can kind of see it if we go back into Tinkercad. This will go back into Tinkercad, and I want to say that either this is the chip or this is the chip. But then actually, if we just go back here, you can kind of clearly see the @Mega chip. This is this big chip right here. It's got 100 pins. And so we'll be taking a look at the data sheet and playing around with the different computer system terminology that we're looking at. So memory technology, interfacing, all that fun stuff. And so when I tell you to navigate to different sections, you should be able to find the sections here in the bookmark tab. But if you don't want to look there, you can also just Control F probably. So if I do comparison between @Mega 1281, yeah, so here I'm telling you to navigate to this little section here, and I was able to find it just from Control F. So that's kind of, hopefully that helps you there. mathematics. Throughout your career and throughout this course, we'll be using MathWorks, um, specifically MATLAB and Simulink. So what you'll want to do is go here to mathworks.com and actually make an account. So I am already logged into my account, but I think if you do sign in, you're able to create an account. And so by creating an account, you'll want to use your calpoly.edu just so that you can get the educational license or the academic license attached to your MATLAB MathWorks account. And so MathWorks is not a free program, but it is free for university students, which is why you need to use your .edu email there. And so we'll just be taking a pretty broad overview of mathematics this first week. So we're looking at algebra, trig, analytic geometry, calculus, differential equations, linear algebra, and vector analysis. And instead of going into like a great amount of detail on all of these subjects, I'm just providing a general overview and showing some kind of application in electrical engineering that you might see should you choose to stay in this major, which I hope you do because it's a lot of fun. So once you chug through all the math section, we've got the project. So this project was standard across all the different sections. So we're doing this Arduino light show where we're designing a system. So we've got 3 LEDs, any necessary protection circuitry. So this protection circuitry, going back to this section on algebra, we kind of talk about how to protect LEDs. And so these LEDs, we're looking at their data sheet here in 9. So just based on their data sheet, they've got a maximum forward current rating of 20 milliamps. And so that's something that we need to ensure that we stay below just so that the LED doesn't burn up. And I think that's all that I wanted to talk about. I talked about the MATLAB certification earlier, so that should be fine. So I think this link works. Let's see. Yeah, so there's this MATLAB on-ramp training, and you can share the certificate once you complete it, if you choose to complete it. So that's worth 1 point of extra credit, right? So if you completely fumble the quiz, or I guess choose not to take the quiz, then you can get an extra point there. So that's all I had. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys in the next video.